Somewhere out there, many years ago, the story of evolution took an unexpected turn. On an isolated tropical island, far from the acid rain of civilization, a new breed of man was born. He was called Homo wavesailor. These prehistoric cave movies show the precise moment when the first Homo wavesailor discovered his tool. Homo wavesailor evolved rapidly. As centuries passed, wave-sailing man gravitated to the tropical island of Maui. From their very first appearance here, they multiplied rapidly. By the 1980s, they were the dominant group on the island. The steady trade winds and warm tropical waters perfectly suited the development of this new subspecies. Ordinary wave sailors spent ordinary days at Kanaha, the center of their known world.
A very ordinary day starts in just the same old way. The eyes arise, the dreams recede. A fog lifts as I'm toasted tea. A swim or shower, a wet or face, a shave of whiskers just in case they grew a little while I slept. This morning ritual must be kept. I think one day I'll grow a beard, look really fearsome and be feared, and wake up in the afternoon and sink completely out of tune. It's just the average normal sort. No unusual things occur, or if they do I can defer them. Grow a beard, look really fearsome and be feared, and wake up in the afternoon and sink completely out of tune. But today as I began to start, it's just the average normal sort. No unusual things occur, or if they do I can defer them. Yes, I can.
Mike Waltz was one of the greats of the early leaders on Maui. Legends often spoke of his deeds. Rather like primates in the jungle, the homo wave sailors were led by the strongest and boldest of the group. The thousands of hours Waltz spent hanging on to his wishbone caused grotesque calluses to grow on his hands. This phenomenon was proof of homo wave sailors' ability to adapt in a single generation. Outside his dwelling near Kanaha, Waltz assembles one of his preferred boards. The single-winged swallow tail was a popular design of the time. This one was 7.5 feet long, 20 inches wide, and 3.5 inches thick. Records show that many of Waltz's rivals thought this board had special powers. Even in flat water, Waltz demonstrated the qualities that made him the leader of the pack. Here, he sails out to test some new ideas with his friend and rival, Fred Hayward.
never listen, so no need to shout. Have a good time in your machine. No need to hide, you'll never be seen. Oh, this would be your day. This would be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. There's no superpower, only flesh and blood. To see by their look, they can hang you up. If you examine, I think you'll find heaven is watching. It's just a matter of time. See the lovers in the pond, knowing what it's like to be living in the dark. So shake off the blues, look straight ahead. Think about the things that we've said. Oh, this could be your day. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just
In
let
this session, Haywood perfected the 360-degree turn. Waltz saw this as a challenge to his leadership. The tribe had a traditional way of dealing with such challenges. The threatened leader had to find a door, attach a mast, and sail it. If he could ride it until it sank, he was considered skilled enough to remain the leader.
Walking back over my shoulder, I can't stop staring. I adore you, oh darling, how I adore you, my friend. I adore you, don't leave me alone.
These displays of ability and virility often aroused the females of the species.
be a lucky day. Just let go and sail
However,
away.
the physical demands of wave sailing left little time for promiscuity.
Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away. This could be a lucky day. Just let go and sail away.
Haywood invested many windy summer days in developing new tricks and maneuvers. Maui's warm, humid climate and favourable winds allowed homowavesailor to flourish. Homowavesailor was a competitive breed given to experimentation with many types of equipment. The two boards on the right were designed for the surf, but this spear-like instrument was designed exclusively for flat water use, or more specifically, for the capture of the world speed record. It was built for 34-year-old Fred Haywood, one of the elders of the tribe. As a champion swimmer, he came within 1/100th of a second of representing his country in the Olympics. Studies of his skeleton suggest he may have been part amphibian. At 6'3" and 200 pounds, he was often likened to Apollo. This board was specially built for his attempt on the world speed record. At 8'6" and 18.5 inches wide, it was much shorter and narrower than the average speed board of that period. It had all the latest refinements, a full-length double concave and V to the nose. The fin was modelled after that of the dolphin. For the first launching of this board, Haywood had to use a fitting then known as a mast extension to accommodate the sail he had chosen. His equipment was advanced for the time, but it wasn't for the weak. Like Walt's, Haywood's body had quickly adapted to the demands of full-time sailing. Fred's first sail on this board proved a contest in itself. He was met by Alex Aguirre and Klaus Simon, both recognized speed sailors who challenged him to an unofficial sprint. When Haywood lost speed out of his jibe, things looked good for his rivals. However, with the power back in the sail again, the board showed its true potential. Haywood was pleased with this encouraging result, but each day he pushed himself further. Starting with a fully battened sail, he tested a variety of new equipment. He snapped the battens in this sail during a high-speed crash. But many others lay on the shore, just waiting to be tested. Just before his departure for England, Haywood received word that a revolutionary winged mast had been developed and was waiting for him at the site of the speed trials. Much to the delight of the people on Maui, Haywood smashed the 30-knot barrier to become the world speed champ. Haywood returned victorious to Maui. Governor Waltz, leading the largest crowd ever assembled on the island, took great pleasure in escorting Haywood to a waiting limousine and a lavish backseat reception. After celebrating his friend's victory, Governor Waltz was free again to continue his dedication to wave sailing. Waltz was driven by an overwhelming ambition to transcend the limits of nature. Despite the rise of homowavesailor, Maui was still a paradise for surfers, at least for part of the day. On calm mornings, small bands could still be found grazing the glassy slopes of Hokipa Park, one of the island's most popular breaks. But their enchantment was limited to short periods only. Late most mornings, tropical trade winds blew in from the ocean and the island came to life. Once the whitecaps appeared, homowavesailors inevitably arrived to reclaim their newly won territory from the surfers. This small rocky strip that often led to the destruction of their brightly colored equipment was also the axis of their society. It was here they exchanged stories, passed on tribal lore, and discussed the day's activities. The arrival of the headman waltz signaled the commencement of these meetings. With the emphasis so strongly on performance in the lives of the wave sailors, equipment was a common subject for discussion. One of the most striking artifacts uncovered to date is the asymmetrical tail. It seems this rather odd shape was evolved specially for use in the long, right-breaking waves that were once found at Hokipa. Until this time, wave sailing had been the almost exclusive domain of men. But as the race developed and women became stronger, many females began to make their presence felt. This was a constant source of delight for male sailors like Alex Aguirre, Craig Masonville and Dave Ezzie, who welcomed the arrival of the fairer sex onto their beloved aquatic dance floor. feelings of fellowship and enjoyment were common. A friendly atmosphere prevailed for most of the year. But life wasn't always peaceful for the local inhabitants. Twice a year, they were raided by fierce tribes from other islands. To avoid decimation of the tribe, homowavesailors developed a sophisticated substitute for warfare. In a ritual known as a contest, single warriors representing each tribe did battle in the surf. These encounters were not unlike the blood sports of Roman days. When the heats were over, it was waltz versus the best all-round sailor in the world at that time, Robbie Nash.
I make my money the right way, and I make my honey the right way. My jokes are funny, you better laugh the right way, 'cause I'm the overlord, the overlord. I sit in my office with my white shirt and my tie, and with the straightest face, I tell the boldest lie. I ain't afraid of you, I know I'm never gonna die. I'm the overlord, yeah, that's me, the overlord. At night I go home and I change into my leather clothes, hit the street with my knife, my piece, and my rubber hose. I ain't afraid of you, I know who needs to be you that goes. Yeah, I'm the overlord, ain't no pimp, ain't no whip, I'm a man in the street, the one you don't want to be. Jokes are funny, you better laugh the right way, 'cause I'm the overlord, the overlord. I'm the landlord, I'm your lord, the last word, final chord. I'm a two-edged sword, I'm the angel that you heard, yeah, I'm the overlord.
Robbie's spectacular performance carried him to the final and gave him the chance to lord it over waltz in the headman's own territory. Waltz's uncanny knowledge of the Maui conditions told him that choice of sails would be vital. As Nash approached the water, the normally reliable breeze dropped away. Robbie missed the small gust of wind that took Waltz out through the break. Robbie was left floundering in the white water. The sight of Waltz dancing over the waves aroused primitive emotions. With victory secured, Waltz claimed that his choice of the right size sail won him the day. But the judges felt that the conditions had conspired against Nash. It seemed to them that Waltz enjoyed special patronage from the weather because he was Maui's favorite son. After the announcement of a result, the Marauders returned to their homelands for another season. With the passing of the contest season, life returned to normal. Waltz was left free again to explore the edge of gravity and to one day sail away on a private flight of fancy.